And it's my privilege and honor to welcome all of you today. Welcome to Alice, Living Paycheck to Paycheck is our topic for today. Just a reminder that United Way hosts monthly community partner council forums on issues that affect Licking County residents in a variety of ways. And again, all in hopes that we work together collaboratively to tackle our mission of improving people's lives in Licking County. So thanks ahead of time. Many of you are involved in this good work as we look for ways to work together collaboratively to improve people's lives. Alice is a really important topic for us. Corey Stutz is going to share with you in just a minute a little bit more about what is Alice? What does the acronym stand for, and why is that important for us here in Licking County? It is something that United Way has worked to be a part of since 2010. We have been helping lead the way around this project. It's something that affects many people in Licking County. Before we get started though today, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge this day in history for all of us. It is really, I think, very fitting that all of us acknowledge the events that happened on 9/11. And we've all been there. Most of us in this room can remember where we were when we heard, who we were with, what happened immediately following that event. And I encourage you too to, share those stories. One of the ways that we keep history alive and that we learn from history is that we continue to share stories. We continue to be a voice for sometimes those who don't have a voice any longer in our communities. And we know certainly we remember the loss of lives and the families that were affected by that day. And in fact, our entire country, we were all affected in so many ways. My personal incident was a United Way story. I was a board member with United Way. It hadn't been too long. We had called our new executive director, Donna Carpenter, and Donna and I had went over to Columbus to be a part of a conference for not-for-profits around Ohio on board governance. And we were sitting in the downtown hotel, downtown, the large one there, I think it was Marriott. And they interrupted the conference and they said there's something going on the TV, and everybody was flooding out around the bar, around the restaurant, and we watched in disbelief that a plane just really hit the tower. And as we were processing that, then to see that, a second one. That day, then immediately, everything was canceled. And at that time, 161 was not complete all the way across Licking County. And also 70 was completely shut down because we thought Flight 93 was going to have to land. Maybe if they could get it to land safely on 70. 70 was shut down. So we drove all the way down Broad Street from downtown Columbus back into Licking County. I was a pastor in Pataskala. And then that evening, we began 24-hour prayer vigils for peace, for healing, for comfort, so that we might come together and figure out a way forward together around something that seemed unbelievable. United Way got to work. We did collections. Some of you who were involved in United Way in those days, for first responders. We did collections and wrote letters for folks who were in the social services, counseling, all of those sorts of things. Our campaign changed because United Way always pivots. We always address what is the most critical issues, and we pivot when we need to. We've done that recently too, haven't we, again with COVID? But 9/11 is impactful for all of us. The world was never the same in so many different ways. So I want to just take a moment of silence for us to honor the memory of of those who lost their lives, for all of the first responders, and for all of us as we continue to pray for peace and collaboration and compassion as we figure out a way together. Let's take a moment of silence. Okay, thank you all very much for that. We're going to go now, changing back the topic to today. And again, Alice is pretty critical for us as we look at Licking County. 37% of households in Licking County fall in Alice. So I'd like Corey Stutz, our Community Impact Director, to come up to share some more information about Alice.
All right, thank you everyone. So I'm going to actually go back here. I think we got jumped ahead in our presentation. So thank you everyone for coming this morning. I'm pretty sure at this point all of you know who I am, but if not, I'm Corey Stutz, Community Impact Director here at United Way of Licking County. So this is an important topic that we talk about all the time. You'll hear Alice come up in pretty much any conversation that we have at United Way. So I want to actually get us started. I'm going to pull this down for a second. So I want to play something for you. This is about 6 minutes, so it's not too terribly long. But I can't think of a better way to introduce what Alice is, who Alice is, why it's important, than playing this for you. So
in Licking County, Ohio, there exists a hidden challenge. Facing many hardworking individuals and families. Meet Alice. Alice stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, but Employed. Alice represents our neighbors, our friends and colleagues who struggle to make ends meet, yet find themselves just one unexpected expense away from financial instability. Licking County is a vibrant community, but it is not immune to the challenges of economic hardship. According to recent data, nearly 27% of households in this county fall within the Alice threshold.
Hello, I'm Ashley Washburn, Executive Director of Family Health Services of East Central Ohio and a United Way board member. I'm here to talk to you today about the Alice Report. The Alice Report is a report done by the United Way every few years that gives us great demographics on households in our community and their income. The Alice Report currently is showing a lot of household incomes not qualifying for benefits any longer, but living check to check right in our community. I am one who relates to this report. I'm a single mother of 2, and I have a single income for my household. So we're very much in this demographic of individuals. This is also a demographic that I love to advocate for. 20% of the people that came to Family Health Services last year in Licking County were uninsured. I know personally the feeling that you get when you no longer qualify for benefits through Job and Family Services. It's a very proud and happy moment for your household. But at the same hand, you then have to adjust your whole budget to figure out how you're going to make it without those benefits. I feel like those are the individuals in our community who often fall through the cracks. We're not qualifying for certain benefits, but we're not able to make it from check to check. When something happens in our household, it can be a struggle to rely on family and friends. I am lucky enough to have a great village that supports me and helps me with my children. All too often though at work that I see individuals coming through the clinic that don't have that natural support. So they don't have a natural support system, and they also don't have those benefits they can rely on through our local government. Those are the households I feel like need the most help. A lot of times you won't be able to tell because they're able to maintain, but the stability is not there. They're trying to rely on resources that they no longer qualify for, and we need to find ways to support gaps in those services.
The struggles faced by Alice are diverse and often complex, from housing costs to childcare, healthcare, and transportation. Every day presents a new obstacle to overcome.
Hello, my name is Candace. I am a resident and lifelong member of Lincoln County, North Ohio. I have had troubles in the past, so I have a felony record, but I have been clean from drugs and alcohol for over 15 years. I'm considered what I call myself as the working poor. I do work, and when you try to get like food stamps and things like that, they go off of your gross income. So that keeps me from being able to buy groceries. I have to make the decision, am I going to, pay a bill or buy groceries, and I have to pay a bill because I don't want to be somewhere living and have my electric off, because then that will mess up my housing help that I do get help with housing. In my community, there is a lot of homelessness and drug addiction. There are a lot of people fighting for their lives. So homelessness is something near and dear to my heart because I've also been homeless a time or two. And I know, what that's like. And if you don't know the resources and how to live and make it during that time, you can fall short or whatever, just be out in the streets with no help. United Way is great for the community because without their help, there would not be a lot of programs that help people stay afloat when they're drowning. United Way has many different programs. They help with the warming center. They are affiliated with Whole Living Recovery. There's just a lot of different things, and I'm very grateful for them. My name is Candace, and I am Alice.
The Alice population is an essential part of the fabric that makes Licking County strong. When Alice struggles, the entire community feels the impact.
I'm a recovering addict, and I'll never get tired of talking about how the United Way has helped save my life. All these distractions were removed in my life, and the United Way took that that heaviness away so that I could learn to live again. I'm so sorry. So the United Way has really just helped me. They've taken the stress and the heaviness off of me being able to work on my disease and my addiction. It took away, those things of worrying about where my next meal comes from, how the rent's going to get paid, utilities, having a safe place to live, a roof over my head. The United Way, and they're our biggest grant funded partner for Whole Living Recovery, and it's given me a safe place to lay my head and to recover and treat the disease that I have.
Our goal is to empower Alice, individuals and families, providing them with the tools they need to thrive. Together as a community, we can create opportunities for Alice to not only survive, but to truly thrive. By understanding their struggles and addressing their needs, we build a stronger, more inclusive Licking County for all.
All right, that's a pretty impactful video, I think. And we're fortunate to be able to share the story with support from everyone in the room and so much support from our community. But there's a lot of work to do. So as you might have noticed in the video, ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. So this represents the group of people who are working. Often they're working full-time or they're working multiple part-time jobs. And they are above the federal poverty level. So they don't qualify for benefits, but they are still below the threshold of what is the minimum amount needed to live comfortably or even just make ends meet at all in Licking County. This report is localized throughout the partner states that participate in the study, so we can drill down to get as specific as townships in Licking County. We can get as specific as census defined statistical areas. We can get as defined as zip codes. So we can really look at what is the financial position of each of those local areas. So when we look at the trends over the last few years, this graph that's up on the TV, you can see it goes from 2010, when Deb mentioned Alice began, up to 2022. So in May of 24, this past May, an update was released. However, the data that's always utilized in those Alice reports is a couple of years behind, just because it takes a long time to measure and synthesize that data and put it out and publish it. So it's always a couple of years behind. So even though we have updated Alice numbers to say what a survival budget is in Licking County, it's already 2 years out of date. And we know a lot has happened in the last 2 years in Licking County. A lot has happened in the last 2 years in the world. And costs have gone up across the board. So when we look at these survival budgets, we already know they're not realistic. So the margin of people that are within this demographic, we can assume is probably even a bigger percent. When we compare this to poverty, so if you remember, Alice is just that portion of people who are above the poverty level, but below the Alice threshold. In 2022, we had 70,064 households. 8,306 of those households were at or below the federal poverty level. And then 17,534 were at or below the Alice threshold. So when you add those together, that comes to about 26,000 households. That's not just people, that's households out of the 70,000 that are in the county. You can see the trend here. The poverty level has been staying fairly consistent over the years of people in Licking County who are at that federally defined poverty level. However, the folks that live within Alice has really gone up. You can see in 2010, we were just over 12,000 households. And so in 2022, it was 17,500. So if we look at the numbers from the last report to the current report, in 2019, the point in time data showed that there were 1,726,687 households in Ohio that were within the Alice threshold. That number went up by about 170,000 into 2022, with 1,897,973 households in the state living in Alice. In Licking County, that number rose from 22,455 households up to 25,840 households. Remember, that's out of 70,000 households, so that's significant. These numbers also, this is the combination of Alice and below, so Alice and poverty level. When we look at some of the areas in Licking County that have the highest percentage of Alice, cities and townships, the highest area is within the city of Newark at 50% of folks are living at or below Alice. In Marion Township, that number is 49%. Washington Township up in Utica is 40%. And within the city of Heath, it's 39%. We were just looking at this yesterday, and while these represent townships or cities, there are certain census areas that have a higher percentage. So within Licking County, within the Brownsville census area, that is the highest percentage of people living at or below Alice. I think only, was it Deb, like 48% of all people are above the Alice threshold, so 52% of people within the Brownsville area live at or below Alice. So let's actually look at what this survival budget means. These numbers are going to be small, so I'm sure you're probably going to have a hard time seeing. If you didn't though already grab one of these one sheets, there's a front and back here that has our 2022 point in time data. So it's the most recent Alice stuff. There are more copies of this up on that table, the United Way table. You're welcome to grab one at any time. You can grab one as you head out, but this does have this information on it. It's very convenient to be able to grab. So this budget is a little bit more in depth. The one that's on that one sheet is truncated. This goes through a variety of types of households: single adult, one adult with one child, It factors in childcare, 2 adults with 2 children, also age. So if you're a single adult over 65 or 2 adults over 65. Now, when we start to look at this, we can see, oh, if they're saying that this is the bare minimum that you need, we can look at this and say, well, this is not realistic. You need more. Because single adult rent is listed as $592. Even if you are getting assistance to pay for your housing, you're likely still paying more than that. Especially if you're making $28,032 a year. So that's the what the annual bare minimum to make ends meet for a single adult in Licking County as of 2022, $28,032. Now, when you have multiple people in a household, if you have 2 adults with no children, that cost goes up to $42,108. Again, with the assumption that you're paying $600 a month in rent, which, where? 2 adults with 2 children, it goes up significantly. So if you have children who do not need childcare, it's $68,400 on the year that you need to be able to earn. But for 2 adults with 2 children in childcare, the bare minimum is $82,404 a year, or a combined hourly wage of $41.20 for both adults. Now, we know there are a lot of families who are not making that. The median wage in Licking County was $70,000, the median. So that's not the average. That's not representative of, you know, what most people are making. That's just the median. That's the middle number. So it's spread. So a lot of people are not meeting this threshold, especially with childcare. And many people have more than 2 children. There might be more than 2 adults living in the household. So this doesn't factor that in as well. So even with that said, we can look and see, you know, many people are saying, we talk about hourly rates. We know that wages have to go up, but then you get into a conversation with people saying what is and is not realistic. Even with wages that people would factor in as unrealistic, folks cannot survive. That simple. Some of the other expenses that we have on here, such as healthcare, we can assume for a single adult, it lists $165 a month as healthcare. I know my health insurance is more than 3 times that much per month. Just for myself, nobody else. For an entire family, 2 adults and 2 children, $613 a month for health care. We know that's not realistic. $1,082 for 2 adults 65 and over for their health care. Again, I guess depending on the health of the individual, but not likely. So when we look at these, it starts to kind of paint a little bit of a disappointing picture because it's really easy to start to feel overwhelmed. And that's not the goal. The goal is just to bring some clarity, because if we don't know where we are, there's no way that we can determine where we're going or where we want to go or how to get there. So it's important to be able to take stock of our current position, and then we can make steps to go in the right direction from there. So the goal of today's conversation, as I said, you know, we know that this gives us an idea, but this still isn't the full picture. This isn't living in Licking County today. This is living in Licking County 2 years ago, which was a vastly different world than it is now. So we brought together a panel of experts, and here shortly, Deb is going to go through some questions that we've prepared, and we hope to have a conversation, talk about where are we today, where are we going, what can we do, you know, whether you fall within the Alice demographic or not, you're certainly feeling the pinch, and so we can all benefit from this conversation. So again, I would stress, if you haven't grabbed one of these yet, go ahead and do so. I would also really encourage you to check out unitedforalice.org. That is the website. There are just numbers and numbers of tools on there that you can use. You can look at affordability by age. You can look at affordability by ethnicity. You can look at affordability by parent status. You can look at a variety of economic factors, job forecasts, all kinds of things are prepared in that report. So I would really encourage you to check that out. You can look at Ohio as a whole. You can go to Lincoln County. You can look by township. It really is an excellent resource. So again, that website is unitedforalice.org. And we do have some information on our website as well, unitedwlc.org, so you can check out either of those. We will have some time at the end for questions. So if you think of anything, if you have any questions from this part, you can absolutely go ahead and write those on the slips of paper on your table. But be thinking about questions that you would like to ask our panel as they're speaking, because you will have the opportunity to submit those questions, and we will ask them for you. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Deb, and we will get the forum underway. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey, for sharing some of our updates here about ALICE. ALICE is just one mechanism that we can keep track of where Licking County is currently, as Corey said. But I will tell you, we have other partners in the community that are looking at some of these statistics. If you look at the health department or our hospital, and we look at what we're doing to target community health improvement areas, meaning opportunity zones. One of the studies that the health department did not too long ago showed that depending on what zip code you live in, you might expect to live, depending on which zip code, 12 to 13 years more compared to your brothers and sisters who live just a zip code or a few miles away. That is a direct correlation also with household income. So ALICE not only affects your ability to be able to afford items, but in a very real sense, it can determine how long you might live. And that's a statistical fact. And so our county does look at this ALICE demographic from a variety of different perspectives. We're going to go ahead and dive into our forum this morning. We are so thrilled to have some of our local experts with us to share with us more about ALICE this morning. First of all, you already saw Ashley Washburn, the Director of Family Health Services. She was a part of our ALICE video. But, sometimes people say, well, ALICE are just the folks living out in the streets. If you went to the car wash and somebody took your credit card today, you may have met ALICE. If you have a loved one living in an assisted care facility, you might have met ALICE. If your child went to school this week and they have a teacher who's a first or second year teacher, you might have met ALICE. If somebody drew your blood at the hospital today, you might have met ALICE. If you have an emergency and you had to call somebody with the emergency squad, you might have met ALICE. ALICE are the people that you meet every single day, including executive directors of a not-for-profit. So that's really important to notice. We need ALICE in the fabric, in the ecosystem of Licking County in order for all of us to thrive. All of us need to be able to live a healthy life. So thank you, Ashley, for being vulnerable. Thank you for doing what you do and for being a part of that video. Next, we have Jenny Rice. We've gotten to know Jenny over the last couple of years, and she specializes in residential and commercial properties with the Rains Group. And she's also got a story to share with us and her expertise. So we are so thrilled to have Jenny Rice with us as well this morning. And then finally, someone who knows a lot about working with the ALICE and workforce in Licking County, Angela Carnahan has been a supporter of United Way and our efforts for a long time. But she is helping every day people to find meaningful employment to help improve their lives. She is the administrator for the Licking County Job and Family Services Ohio Means Jobs. I'm always telling somebody, well, I need a job. Have you went to Ohio Means Jobs? Have you went to Ohio Means Jobs? And so we're very thankful for the partnership with Job and Family Services, Ohio Means Jobs, and for Angela being here this morning. So we'll dive right into this. We've got a number of questions. And again, during this time, we invite you to come up with some questions as well. So this is for all of the panelists. I've just done a brief introductory, few words about each of you. But if you would also just maybe share a few additional words as we go down through the line about your role in working with the Alice demographic. Ashley, we'll start with you and then we'll pass the mic down the table.
Is this working? No, I always do that.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so you all have seen me a million times now, but Director of Family Health Services. So we're a nonprofit reproductive health clinic. So 20% of the individuals who came to us last year in Licking County were living without insurance. So that's a demographic that I feel passionate about advocating for, is those people in our county that do not have health insurance. And we'll talk a little bit more later in the questions, and then personally, you saw the story, single mother of 2. So I just will always advocate for those individuals that aren't as lucky as me with having natural support. I have a great family who, I don't know, I wouldn't have been able to afford childcare, to finish school, to get my degree, to have my position today. So I'm always going to advocate for those single mothers or single fathers that don't have that natural support.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Jenny Rice. I'm a realtor with the Rains Group. I've been selling real estate in Ohio and Florida for the last 10 years. I serve real estate because I'm not in sales, I'm in service. I know what it is like to not have a roof over your head. My parents lost our house during the opioid epidemic. We're from Youngstown in the mid-2000s, and I felt that pressure. My community came up, and because of my community, we were able to move forward. My goal is to help people, whether it's down payment assistance or having a loved one who wants to age in place. There are many facets in real estate, and my goal, again, is to serve my community. Real estate is not just about sales, it's about community coming together to serve one another. So thank you for having me here today.
Hi, good morning. My name is Angela Carnahan. I'm the Workforce Development Administrator with Ohio Means Jobs, Licking County, and we're operated by the Licking County Department of Job and Family Services. I oversee all of our workforce programs for the county and the employment training programs for the county. So that includes all the public assistance employment training programs. So programs under the Ohio Works First Cash Assistance Program, and also the SNAP Employment and Training Program. In addition to that, we run all of the employment training centers that come out of the Ohio Means Job Center. So we have programs specifically for young adults ages 18 to 24. We also have programming specifically for individuals who have lost their jobs, who are unemployed. And in addition to all of those specific programs, we also serve anybody and everyone who is interested in being employed or gaining better employment. We also have a business services team who specifically provides services and outreach to local business and brings back those job leads to our center. So we do everything and anything we can to help people either become employed or find better employment.
Thank you. Angela, you can hold the microphone and we'll pass it back down the other direction. As we've already talked about, our data with the Alice report really ends at 2022. We have some general updated figures. We know a lot's happened recently in the last few years, and shortly we'll have a report for 2024. But from your perspective, what are the recent trends that you've been seeing relating to affordability, especially in the areas of housing, healthcare costs, childcare, availability of employment?
Well, the biggest I see would be healthcare and the position I'm in. And I think Licking County has a lot of small businesses that are unable to afford to offer benefits. So trying to find something for those individuals is huge. We have the marketplace that was effective for some individuals, but I know at Family Health Services, we are considered a small business, and it's hard for me to be able to offer benefits to my employees. And that's not a great feeling for myself and the individuals I employ. And talking to other nonprofits, a lot of them are in the same situation. a lot of I have friends that own restaurants, they're in the same situation, unable to offer. Those small businesses are really hurting. Housing affordability is huge. I think our community really needs to come together to address housing at all price points in Lincoln County. That's something I know we speak about a lot, but I think the people that we are serving at Family Health Services are definitely feeling the struggle of that, and childcare, where we had the great survey done by Lincoln County that showed how much families are struggling with childcare right now. The affordability and availability are both a huge problem.
Please don't mind me, I'm gonna read from my notes just so I don't miss anything. Housing prices, we are seeing them continue to climb year over year. Lincoln County, the average sale price has risen 7% just in the last year. And that is from 2023 to 2024, reaching $345,000 for Lincoln County. It's the average sales price. This marks an increase from $250,000 in 2022 and $210,000 in 2020. If we break this even down to Newark, so the Newark, the average sales price has grown by 5.7% over the last year, and that is up to $239,000, up from $151,000 in 2022 and $120,000 in 2020. We have doubled our housing average price. Home prices as home prices rise, potential buyers face higher down payments, mortgages, insurances, and taxes. Existing homeowners are also seeing property values increase, which is increasing their tax bills. This is harder for homeowners to manage their everyday life expenses. And to become a homeowner and remain a homeowner, you need a cushion. And without us being able to save money, it is even more challenging going throughout the year over year in Lincoln County.
So I'm gonna address this from three different perspectives, because I guess my perspective, I see from the job seekers view, from the individual who comes into our center and the people that we serve. I also have a perspective from working with employers, and also then the government perspective. So I always have a lot to say. So from the job seeker side, from what we see, we see a lot more homelessness. We see people who are working who don't have a place to live. We see people living in substandard housing, in deplorable conditions, with landlords who aren't able to invest in those housing units, and individuals not, living in good housing. We've also seen, and I've been really disturbed by this, more elderly and older workers coming to the center. So these are 65 plus individuals coming into the center saying, I can't afford to live. I can't pay my bills. I need a job. We had a 78-year-old come into the center a week or so ago and demanded a job that day because he cannot afford to pay his bills. We also have seen the job market. We have been very blessed with our economic and our business diversity here in Lincoln County. We're very manufacturing heavy. We've had a lot of really great companies move into town who offer really great wages. So we've had a lot of job opportunities. We have seen here recently a little bit of a tightening of the market, where it's gone from an employer just hiring anybody who is breathing to, maybe you need to be able to answer a few questions before they hire you now. And we've also seen some downsizing and some plant closures. And so we've been providing some outreach to some of those employers who have closed. One employer here locally, the majority of their workforce is age 50 and over. And those individuals are very, very concerned with what they're going to do moving forward. So that's from the job seeker side. I will say from the employer side of it, when we're working with employers, they recognize that the job market is tight. And I feel like they have been really trying to be more creative and open-minded when doing their hiring and their recruiting for employees. We've seen employers who are more open to offering other benefits, maybe not the traditional benefits because they are costly, but maybe offering a flexible work environment or flexible hours, or trying to be a little bit more employee friendly or family friendly, if they're not able to offer the financial, benefit pieces of it. So that's been kind of nice to see. And it's been nice for, to hear employers say, you know, we want to do better. We want to attract workforce and we want to keep our workforce, and how can we do that? And how are other companies who are successful doing that? So that's been really great. On the government side, I'm going to date myself here. I started with the agency in 1993. I was hired to implement welfare reform. And so that's when the old ABC, Aid to Dependent Children, changed to Ohio Works First. And anybody, families who were receiving cash assistance at that time were required to do work hours and find work. So we went from an agency, when I was hired in, we probably had 13 workforce case managers. Each case manager had caseloads of 500 to 600 families on cash assistance. Today, I will tell you that we have 7 families on cash assistance. So, you know, the goal of OWF back in that time is to help people transition off of public benefits. The truth of the matter is public benefits is cheaper than helping people become self-sufficient. We went from giving families or single mothers a check every month and we said, go home and take care of your kids. And now we're giving them the same check and we're saying, oh, by the way, now we want you to work. And now we have to pay for childcare, so you can do that. Now we have to help you with transportation, so you can do that. Now we have to make sure you have clothes to do that. So it is more expensive. But overall, it's worked. I will say that, you know, we have been able to transition people off of public benefits, but this is where we're at right now. So we've moved people off of those public benefits into the working poor category. Food stamps. If you take out the age, blind, and disabled, the majority of people that we have receiving food stamps right now or SNAP benefits are employed. And so what I've seen on the government end is I've seen progress towards what's next. It's a continuum of services. What worked in 1993 is not going to work today. Our individuals are at a different place. And I see programs, very innovative programs like the Benefit Bridge program, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that really takes people to the next step. So, you know, it usually, and I know Ashley has mentioned that, you know, you're getting benefits, you become employed, and all of a sudden, oh, you cross that line, 5 cents over, and you lose your dollars. And it's the benefit club. And so, you know, employers are recognizing that's an issue. It's an employment issue because individuals are refusing raises. They're refusing to work additional hours because the increase in income still results in an overall loss of monthly, but it financially makes sense. And no one would do that to their families. So what I'm seeing on the government side is more of a direction to help those working poor move forward. And it's been refreshing. It's been really great to be part of that. And hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that later.
I really want to thank you, Angela, for that response. And I think you pointed out something. And one of the things at United Way we also try to do is to dispel math myths. We try to clarify some truths. And I don't know if you caught what she said, 7 families. So a lot of times we hear this, all we're doing is handing out. We need to help people up, right? You know, sometimes people do need a handout. Sometimes they do need a hand up. Sometimes they just need a hand to hold. And we need to provide a variety of steps along the way that help assist people. And so Job Family Services has done a great job here in Lincoln County, moving and changing with that reform. But when you're out there talking, help us to spread the word. There's not a lot of people just getting money and doing nothing. In fact, they're all out there working hard and they still need assistance. So thank you, Angela, for clarifying that. Let's go to Jenny. This is a specific question now for you. The affordability and availability of housing is an increasing common discussion these days. A recent report noted that Central Ohio needs 14,000 to 19,000 new apartments and homes to be built each year, which is a contrast to the 10,000 to 12,000 units that have been built in recent years. How do you see housing availability impact affordability, and what might be on the horizon for housing in Licking County?
So since 2020, inventory has been a hot topic due to low mortgage rates. In 2020, we saw as low as 2.65 for a 30-year mortgage and 2.1 for a 15-year mortgage. This drew many potential home buyers into the real estate market. The surge exploded, and we saw a serious U.S. housing shortage across the nation. The low inventory meant demand outweighed supply, leading to higher prices. If you were in the market at all or knew anybody in the market in those early 2020s, it was nuts. And it was painful to be a realtor to help people through this process. So that demand outweighed supply, leading to higher prices, competition, fewer choices, and all price points. Central Ohio did not have enough supply in all price points. And when that happens, it puts pressure on from the top down, making it even more challenging to obtain affordable housing. Let's talk about how we got here though. We'll start with key factors during the early 2020s. Millennials and repeat boomers are the highest age demographics that came into the real estate market. So we were all competing with each other, the highest demographic age populations. We also saw the rise of corporate landlords. Within the Buckeye State, accounting for 14.2% of institutional financial investments in 2023. So we have corporate landlords coming into our communities and buying tons of houses and just putting a number on them and not preparing these properties for people. As Deb was saying, we are seeing dilapidated properties and that people aren't paying rent for these homes. Additionally, after the 2008 financial crash, we saw a significant decline in new homes being built. So 54% of builders left the industry, 49% of general contractors left the industry, 40% of multifamily contractors left the industry, and with a combined labor and supply shortage and the average age of a home in Ohio being 52 years old, these just snowballed. And we all know here in Licking County, the average 52 years old is not the average age for a home. We are seeing homes much older in Licking County. Topics that we're going to need to address as a community going forward is, number one, this is big and a lot of people don't talk about it. It is large scale infrastructure. So we are talking about our water treatment plants, our sewage treatment plants, and our electrical grids. Without these being updated, we cannot add more homes. You're going to see across the region areas like Plain City, for example, blew up with a lot of new homes. We're seeing Heath blowing up with a lot of new homes. Why is that? It's because we have water capacity, we have sewage capacity. Unlike Franklin County, Licking County has benefits from multiple water and treatment sewage facilities. So we can provide capacity for new projects, but that's not without limits. The next thing that we are going to have to address, and this is hard for so many people, is density and zoning. It is going to be a topic of conversation in our communities. By 2035, Licking County's population is expected to grow by 30%, according to the 2024 Licking County infrastructure meeting. To accommodate this growth, we need to think about housing with a focus on vertical development. Zoning and density will be a critical topic for our neighborhoods that we can no longer look down upon or look past. Taller buildings are coming to small towns and suburbs, and we have to accept that this is the reality. For those who regularly express protecting green space or getting affordable housing, going up is our only solution. Taller structures, they're part of the answer, whether we like it or not. We also have a growing demand for walkable and livable communities. By developing mixed-use communities in our high corridors, traffic corridors, and our downtowns, we are going to preserve our green spaces and invigorate our community centers. We have to make it a win-win for our community going forward.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. We are growing. Licking County is going to grow. So, you know, one of the exciting things about Licking County is that we are innovative. We are creative. We are an attractable county for so many things, for industries, for companies. But we also now need to look at all of those other pieces, right? The infrastructure, the housing, the jobs, the childcare, all of those things, so that all of us could be a part of this community. So thank you so much, Joe. All right, Angela, this one's for you. The Ohio Leading Economic Indicators report published by ODJFS showed some good news for the Columbus metropolitan statistical area, highlighting it as having some growth in employment in the last year with a forecast of growth through the end of 2024. However, this increase is small at a projected annual rate of 0.14% for the last 6 months of 2024. Notably, the Columbus region is the only statistical area in the report to show any growth at all, as employment is projected to fall in every other region in the state. While we can celebrate growth, will this be enough to keep up with the population growth? Should we be alarmed at this projection, or is this ample to keep up with the demand? That's a large question.
It is a large
But you
question.
had it ahead of time.
Yeah. So, I did pull up some information just to give you a little perspective. And I think it's important to point out population growth does not necessarily, if the population grows, not all of those people in those population numbers aren't going to be in the workforce. So on average, currently the workforce numbers are about 65% of our population. So if you do the math, and I sat and looked at the numbers, given the last 5 years and the projected 5 years, there's going to be a total of 13,157 projected jobs in Licking County. This is Licking County specific. And if you take the projected workforce participants, so if you take the population growth times it by 65, you'll get 8,564 workforce participants. So we're at a deficit. We don't have enough workers for the jobs that we have. And this is going to continue to be a problem. The other piece is, if you look at the jobs that are being added, they're advanced manufacturing, they're high skilled, they're skilled trade jobs. And so that's the other piece that we need to be concerned about. There's been great efforts made by the state of Ohio, by Jobs Ohio, by the Lieutenant Governor to provide a lot of training resources. There are a lot of, there's broadband training right now going on that's free. Jenny talked about all the infrastructure that's going to be required to support all the business. This is going to require skilled tradesmen. So the individuals in the workforce, when you're talking about that 65% of people in the workforce, they're not all going to be able to do skilled trades or advanced manufacturing. So there's a mismatch there. So is it ample to keep up with the demand? No. We are in a workforce crisis. I foresee that this is something that's going to continue. We need to make sure that our kids in the schools are receiving the right direction and the right education so that they are going to be able to fill the jobs of the future. And we also need to make sure that we draw from around the region. We in Licking County, and we've said this in my counterparts in other counties, we have to depend on our county neighbors for workforce. We're not going to be able to meet the demand. We're not going to be able to fill the jobs that we're going to have here moving forward. And it's really important for us, as you're working with people who are unemployed, who are trying to make a decision or trying to make career choices, to really sit down with them and have a conversation about, again, income. And what do you need to survive, and what occupations are going to help you do that, and really help provide that direction moving forward, because there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and we need to be prepared to have the workforce to meet those needs.
Thank you, Angela. A lot to consider. Tackling the issues with Alice is also tackling workforce. And to support our workforce, we need to support the not-for-profit programs, strengthen the not-for-profit ecosystem that's needed to support a healthy, growing workforce as well, so that we can meet that demand. So Again, lots of opportunity for us to help with that. Ashley, this next one is for you. In a national survey conducted in 2022, approximately half of adults said it was difficult to afford healthcare costs. 25% of respondents said that they are a family member in their household had difficulty paying for healthcare within the previous 12 months. According to the same study, about 4 in 10 adults with insurance worried about affording their monthly premiums, with 48% reporting worrying about being able to afford their deductible before their health insurance kicks in. As a representative of the healthcare field and an advocate for the Alice population, how do you see the local impact of healthcare and insurance costs?
Yeah, so the Ohio Department of Health is one of our biggest funders, and they talk a lot about this. There's uninsured and there's underinsured. A lot of people are underinsured in our area, or the benefits just aren't great enough for them to feel like they can go get preventative care. So that is what concerns me, is preventative care. A lot of individuals that are underinsured or uninsured don't have a primary care physician. They're utilizing the ER as a doctor's office, which is not conducive to the healthcare system. It's not what the ER is intended for. It's like they're only getting medical treatment or care when it's an emergency. So there's no preventative care there. And we talked a little bit earlier, a lot of people in this room are part of the Community Health Improvement Committee at the Health Department, the CHIC, where they take great data and they compile that, and we kind of work as a community to figure out how to get these gaps in services filled. So I think it speaks to the fact that the highest cancer rates in Licking County currently are colon cancer and breast cancer. So those are two cancers that have fairly good screening tools, but people aren't able to utilize the screening tools if they don't have health insurance. So, we're not getting mammograms, that sort of thing. So as community, leaders and members, we came together and we're working on some great things with Licking Memorial. For instance, we have the SAS program at the health department. Family Health Services has an individual walk through the door without health insurance. They get that SAS application right away for help with breast and cervical cancer screenings. And then Licking Memorial is a partner in that too, where if something is detected, you can go to Licking Memorial through BCCP and SAS and get screenings based on income. So it is affordable. We're working with the community health clinic and Licking Memorial to get more home screening kits out for colon cancer detection. Me and Ken Quick at the community health clinic, we're just a little concerned with the individuals we see getting that kit, it coming back with needing more testing, but they don't have health insurance. So what's the point? It was kind of our, what do we do? So Licking was nice enough to kind of we're in talks with, how to get those screens done after the kit might come back from home. So that's all in the works. And that all stems from that community health improvement plan, which is awesome that we're able to take that data, sit together as community leaders and members and figure out what we can do. Another thing I think we see a lot of is, and Angela spoke to this, and I saw some faces in the crowd, so I wanted to speak to it. People have to sit down and look at their benefits before they take a raise. So this is very real. I've seen it personally in the beginning of my career. I used public assistance. I talk about it a lot to get through college. It was a great crutch for me. It allowed me to use daycare assistance. Like I said, I have my family as well, but it was a good crutch for me at the time. And you literally, if a boss says, hey, good job, I'm going to give you 50 cents more an hour. I would think that's not worth losing our health insurance for my whole household. So it's sad, but it's true. And I've had, as an employer now, I've gone to individuals and talked about raises, and that was a huge concern from them. I'll lose my Medicaid for my household. I'll lose my food stamps. My Section 8 housing will go up. And these are all very real things that it's sad because it kind of keeps people in that, I hate to say cycle of welfare, but it is very real that you have to sit down and look at your household budget before you can take a 50-cent raise. It has to be something, personally in my career, it was like this has to be enough to be able to not rely on these benefits anymore. Yeah, the 50-cent raises just don't always cut it. That's real life. So yeah, we have to be mindful of that with individuals, and they're working hard and they want to take that raise and they don't want to be on benefits, but it's like, do I take this raise and lose insurance or not? So yeah, I just want to address that because Angela did, and I agree, it's very real as an employer and personally, yeah.
Wow. Again, thank you, Ashley, for being vulnerable, sharing that information. It is really important to realize, and United Way says this repeatedly, everything is interconnected. Everything. I do want to applaud, I know Lincoln Memorial Health has been doing some really innovative things to be preventative around health. You know, for people to be healthy, you've got to eat good. And thankful for the food pantry, I know they opened up recently. For people to be healthy, you gotta sleep. These are basic needs. Everybody needs a bed to sleep in. And then, you know, as we develop some other issues, you know, we find that we need that assistance. We might need medications in the healthcare, but if you're on a fixed income, let's say you're a senior, and you don't have the capacity to go out and work another job at 80 years old, and the healthcare is going up and the rent is going up, what are you going to do, right? If you have more money, you can participate in preventative healthcare measures that are going to help you to live longer. If you don't have enough money or resources, you're not going to participate in those health preventative measures, and you might live lesser years. This should not be. One of the things that we can do, and the United Way does, is we wake up every day and ask, how's the health of our not-for-profit ecosystem so that people aren't falling through the gaps? And how do we support the people who need that help along the way? So thank you, Ashley. Okay, on to our next one. This is for all of you now again. And we'll start with you, Ashley. The Alice Essentials Index tracks the basic cost of living in comparison to inflation. Similar to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, but with a much larger consideration of goods and services. The Alice Essentials Index has consistently outpaced the CPI and has shown that Ohioans are continuing to fall behind. While wages have risen substantially over the years, so have costs. The minimum household survival budget in Ohio has grown by 39% from 2010 to 2022. Whereas the median annual wage of a child care worker, for example, has only grown by 34% in the same amount of time. How have you seen the impacts of inflation outpacing wages in your area of expertise?
So this isn't my area of expertise, but we're located now directly to the new food pantry network location through Lincoln Memorial, which is awesome. Every day I go out around the time they open, usually to grab some, I don't know, it's crazy. They were grabbing stuff, we're doing all kinds of things. The line at that facility is so long every morning. And I think that's a testimony of this. The food pantry does a great job, I think, of trying to help those people that kind of fall through the cracks. They have different levels of assistance. So if you don't qualify for food stamps, you might qualify for benefits there. And I just think that's a testimony to inflation and wages not, I mean, more people are utilizing that service clearly. I mean, I was pretty shocked. I know the girls that work with me at FHS can attest to it too. I think when it first opened, we were just like, wow, yeah, there's such a need there. So, and it's great. We have transit that runs right there and brings individuals there. But I guess I was just kind of, I mean, I know, obviously, I'm a big advocate for this, that this is a problem, but to see that, I think every day, that line out there is kind of a testimony to that. But I'm gonna give the mic to Angela, because I feel like you have a lot more information about wages and workforce. Yes, I feel like she definitely has.
The impact of inflation and outpacing wages have definitely impacted housing. All aspects of keeping a roof over your head have gotten more expensive. To put this into perspective, the average you need to earn is $64,000 a year to get a home of the median price of $215,000 in Ohio. That's a significant jump from $45,000 needed in 2020. So we all know housing is a fundamental security, and without security, things start to unravel. However, it is important to note that there are many ways to navigate these challenges. We're seeing more down payment assistance programs. We're seeing options for creative grants. Additionally, right now in the state of Ohio, we are seeing a first-time homebuyer mortgage tax credit up to $4,000 for anybody making under $103,000 a year. So there are tools out there. You just have to talk to somebody.
I like your vote of confidence, Ashley, because this is not my area of expertise. I am not an economist, but what I will tell you is how we've seen. We see, again, and I mentioned this earlier, a lot of people who are employed coming to the OMJ Center looking for additional employment or looking for better employment because they can't afford to live. We see a lot of gig jobs, a lot of people who do side jobs, try to make ends meet. We see a lot of families whose children work and contribute to the household. And we also see a lot of older workers or individuals who were retired re-entering the workforce because they can't afford to keep up for the cost. So, I would say, those are some things that we just see on a daily basis. I also, a couple things. One thing that was really shocking to us when we started doing our Benefit Bridge pilot was the amount of debt individuals carry. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you have a flat tire and you don't have any cash savings, what do? You need to fix your tire, you need to go to work, you put it on a credit card. You can't afford a washer and dryer to buy one outright. What do? You go to rent to own and you pay 10 times more than what that's worth. And those are some of the things that we've seen through our Benefit Bridge program of people trying to manage, trying to make ends meet. And in the long run, it's not helping. It makes it even more difficult to get out of that hole. And I just wanted to throw out, and I know Corey had mentioned early on, the median income. So I did pull this from Lightcast yesterday. The median income in Licking County is $78,000. That's the median income. So I was thinking about that yesterday, and I know that, what rents, housing, those of you who do housing, don't they like your rent supposed to be 30% of your income, right? Yeah. So if the median income of Licking County residents is $78,000, so does that mean the median rent in Licking County is about $2,000?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
And so when you talk about wages, so if your wages are increasing, then to me, everything else is going to increase. Is that inflation? I don't know. But just because you're making more, I feel like all of a sudden everything is going to cost more. So even if you're making more money, is it really helping? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an economist. I don't know how all these things work, but it's not always about increased wages, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's more complex. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's also true. There's not one magic bullet that's going to fix all of this. But again, that's where collaboration, cooperation, and everybody doing what they can, working together and moving in the same direction. Alone, we do what we can. Together, we do more. On to the next question for all of you. It's easy to become overwhelmed and discouraged when talking about a lack of affordability of basic essentials for so many people. However, there are many things we can celebrate as well. What are some successes that you have recently observed or experienced that you can share, or new developments on the horizon that have helped or will help folks become more financially stable or afford the basic costs of living?
I think being on the United Way board, being heavily affiliated with United Way gives me hope. Seeing all the programming, learning a lot more about our community. I think Licking County does a great job of coming together and trying. Whether we have all the answers or not, we definitely are collaborating and trying. With that being said, I've learned more with Jamie about CTEC. I think there is excitement with adult education. I think we've learned that college is not for everyone, and that's okay. We've also learned that you can go to college after CTEC, and that's an option too. So I think the programming there is huge for our county and giving a lot of people kind of hope that they can find a career path with Ohio Means Jobs or CTEC, or the different programming we have in our county is stellar. When my son was a toddler, I lived in Section 8 for a little bit to get kind of out on my own and get established as a single mom. And it was in a nice area, Derby Downs near SeaTech. And I feel like even then I was telling every single mom I could, you can walk to SeaTech and take classes during the day. There's programming there. I mean, I was talking about it even then. And just, you know, a lot of them just didn't know, you know, their mother was there, they were raised there, their aunt was there, their whole family had lived there, and that was kind of what they do. And it was kind of, you know, around the time it was reforming to, you know, we want you in the workforce. And so just kind of to talk to those individuals about, I'm in school, this is what I do, and CTEC's right there, the branch is there. So that's exciting that that's evolved to, I think everybody knows what CTEC is now in the programming. So, because this was 10 years ago that I was trying to advocate for programming there. Transit, I think, is huge. I think having a transit that finally runs through our town to get in people to employment is huge. And I'm hopeful that housing will get better, because when you think about it, going to work, you need stability. You need a place to sleep. You need to wake up on time. You need a ride there. You need to be able to get ready for work. So, I mean, these basic needs, I think we're doing a better job of covering to get people ready for employment. So I am excited about that.
Yeah, I've had many success stories with helping people reach their goals in real estate. One was most recently, I had a single mom who worked at the hospital. She was also going to school. Her budget was $180,000, and she never thought that she would be able to afford a home, just period, the end. I'm gonna be a renter for life. There are certain partners I have out there in the lending world where they are extremely creative. We were able to get her the Ohio Heroes down payment because she did work at the hospital. And then we also, because she just graduated with her associates and was finishing her bachelor's, we were able to also get her a grants for grads program. We ended up having this buyer come to the table and ended up walking away with money in her pocket instead of money coming to the table. So that is a huge win. I'm also working on some folks right now out in Sunbury. They are living in a house that is from 1880. The house is literally falling down around them. They do still have a mortgage on the property. It's $64,000 a year. The wife just had a stroke. She cannot work anymore. They will be taking in Social Security, but they at this time, they cannot afford a new home, even when we sell this property. I was actually able to connect them with Delaware County's United Way, and we ended up getting them into a rental that they are safe in, and we're gonna auction off their house, and we're gonna be able to pay off that mortgage, and they're gonna have a nest egg, you know, and their rental is gonna be covered for the next 3 months. You know, they are going to be able to save some money. We're gonna be able to get some more money in their pocket, and we're going to get them somewhere safe. So those children also are going to be in a safe environment, and that is key when we're helping our community. So there are success stories out there. We just gotta work a little bit harder at them sometimes.
Okay, finally, I can tell you about our benefit bridge program. I've been waiting on one. So Licking County, we always raise our hand when the state comes up with a pilot. And the state of Ohio said, hey, we want to do a pilot project called the Benefit Bridge to help families, low-income families, maneuver across the benefit cliff. And that is, again, the loss of public benefits when an individual that becomes employed. And so, of course, we raised our hand and we were really excited about it. And this is something that has been very important to me. So it's been something that I've been very passionate about since the beginning of coming to Job and Family Services. And so I'm going to try to take a very complex program and summarize it as best as I can. So the Benefit Bridge program is a program that we help individuals who are employed and who have experienced a reduction or loss of public benefits because of the employment. We also help individuals who have been employed for a long time and who receive partial benefit. and help them understand what they need to do to actually successfully transition off of benefits. And I'll give you some examples of all of that. The individual comes in, we do a benefit bridge score. It's a score of well-being. It assesses their housing situation, transportation, family and childcare, physical and mental health, their social networks, their community connections, support systems, debts and savings, educational attainment, and earnings. And then these families are given a score. In order for us to serve individuals through the Benefit Bridge program, they have to meet a minimum score. So these individuals are truly the working poor. These are individuals who have a stable house, they have transportation, and they're going to work every day, and they're trying to make it. And so that's a little different of a population than what we have been able to work with in the past. Normally, when individuals are receiving public benefits, once they get employed, and they're over income for benefits, we say, bye-bye, good luck, let us know if we can help. And 6 months later, they're back on, right? So Benefit Bridge was developed to help prevent that. And so we developed a program. The state gave us all kinds of flexibility, and they said, just design a program you think is going to work with your county. So we did. We developed it from scratch. Very proud of our program. We've done great things. And since then, the state has rolled out guardrails, and their guardrails mirror our benefit bridge structure, which we were really proud about that. And so what the benefit bridge does is it takes the individual, and we do a full assessment, strengths, what are your barriers, get a full picture of what's going on in the household. This is where we were shocked at the debt, the level and the amount of debt individuals were carrying who were just living paycheck to paycheck because they don't have savings. So we really focus on goal attainment, and we try to incentivize that. So our biggest thing is financial literacy. We match them. We partnered with local banks and credit unions. We match them with a mentor, and every month they meet with that mentor, and they have a monthly budget. Every month they go over their monthly budget with their mentor. And they talk about, hey, you want hard decisions. You really can't afford your car payment. You probably need to think about getting a different car. You can't afford it. Or your 11-year-old has a cell phone. You really can't afford that. And so those are the hard conversations that we're having with individuals. The other thing is, if an individual is employed and they've been at that same employer for years and they love it, and they're part-time. We've had this happen. They're part-time. Well, why don't you pick up more hours? Well, I don't know. I don't have more hours. Well, have you talked to your employer about more hours? No. Okay. And so we have those conversations about, can you pick up more hours? You really need to be making this amount to pay your bills. So it's very incentive focused, goal achievement focused, very positive reinforcement, but we do have those hard conversations. If individuals are in an occupation area where they're not going to earn enough money to pay their bills, then we have those conversations. You need to think about going to school, and let's talk about what some of your options are. So then we talk about upskilling. We've gone to employers before and had conversations with the employer. If we help this individual obtain a certification, is there room for promotion? And so then we get the support of the employer on that end. So again, trying to abbreviate this as much as possible. The end results. Oh, we also offer top-up funding. So when it comes to SNAP benefits, so as individuals increase their income and their SNAP reduces, we come up behind them and bridge that gap. And so we help transition them. So they may go from $900 a month in SNAP to zero. So we'll come in and say, okay, or maybe $900 to $600. We'll come in and say, okay, you're going to lose $300 in SNAP. The first month, we're going to give you $250. And the next month, we're going to give you $200. So we help them transition so they can get used to budgeting. The other thing we couldn't believe is a lot of the individuals we work with have never not had a SNAP card. And they are so afraid to lose that SNAP benefit. Even if their income is enough to pay for groceries out of their income, it's not something that they're used to, and they're afraid. So there's a lot of support that goes, a lot of education that goes with that. We do everything that we can to help support them. If we see that they have a rent-to-own washer and dryer and they can't afford it, we will tell them to return that and we will purchase them a washer and dryer to help them save money. Or if they're going to a laundromat and they can't afford it, we look at the whole picture. I will tell you that in the last 6 months, I was looking at our numbers. We've invested about $165,000 in direct service to our active benefit bridge participants. And as a result, we have saved the county $300,000 in SNAP benefits.
Wow, great.
I will also tell you since the inception, yeah, we're really happy about that. Since the inception of the program, we've served 93 participants. And so we've had the program for 2 years. 85% have remained off of benefits. So these are individuals who have always been on benefits, have always been afraid to lose their benefits. 85% of our participants who've gone through Benefit Bridge, they have successfully transitioned off of public benefits and have stayed off of public benefits. So really, really happy about that program. So that was one thing I wanted to share that we're really excited about. Since the pilot program, there were 6 of us that started. There was 10 more counties. I think they've added 10 counties on top of that. So that program is going to be expanded statewide. And again, the state has been wonderful. This is the direction that they're going in. They know that this is an issue. And it's also become a workforce issue. So this is under the magnifying glass because employers are saying, hey, I'm offering 50-cent raise and they're not taking it. Why? And so these are all things that are happening to help with the workforce shortage and also help individuals successfully transition. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is very, very new, is they've expanded broad-based eligibility for SNAP. So up to this point, your SNAP benefits, if you earn over 135% of poverty, you lose your SNAP. The state now has increased that to 200%. So that's going to be in line with the child care benefits as well. So that is huge. So people are going to be able to receive some sort of SNAP benefit, even if they're not in the Benefit Bridge program, up to 200% of poverty, or ordinarily they would have lost 100% of the SNAP.
Angela, we are very, very thankful for you. We're very thankful for Job and Family Services. And again, Licking County leading the way, being innovative with the Bridge Benefits program here in Licking County. So thank you all for sharing, positive words about successes. And I think that's a message for all of us too. There are things we can do. And, sometimes just getting educated, being aware of where we are, communicating with one another about opportunities. That's what we need to continue to grow as a community. So thank you all for doing that and being an example of that in your areas. We are running out of time. Maybe just one more final question, and then we're going to open it up while I ask the final question. Could we go ahead and collect up any questions that all of you have, please? So maybe this is just one final word, advice, if you will, to those who are living at or below ALICE threshold. Do you have any advice for those people today?
I'll go ahead and start, and I think Ashley referenced this. Take advantage of the services that are available to you. There are a lot of free trainings out there. There are a lot of upskilling. If it's your situation and you're not earning enough money, look at what other opportunities are out there. If you don't know how to go about doing that, come to Ohio Means Jobs and we can sit down and talk with you through that. But if you're in a situation where you're not able to make ends meet, don't be afraid to say, hey, I need to do something different. This isn't working, and reach out to the resources that you have available to you.
Yeah, I was going to speak right to that. Do not underestimate the value of having a conversation. We live in a time where there's an age demographic that doesn't answer a phone or pick up a phone. We have dedicated individuals working tirelessly to connect people with valuable resources. Specifically for housing, we have organizations in Lincoln County, like the Coalition of Care, that can help people when there is in a time of need, so we can keep them off the streets. In Franklin County, there's an affordable housing resource fair every March. So there are tons of resources there. And I would love to get Lincoln County involved more in that resource fair. And one example is Homes on the Hill in the Hilltop. So Homes on the Hill is an affordable housing development in the Hilltop area supported by the Columbus Affordability Grant Gap. So these resources are there to help and engage. And that's one of the questions we didn't review. One of the things I would love to see in Lincoln County is a grant for home builders to build affordable housing. There is no incentive for anybody to build affordable housing. So if there's no incentives, we will not see affordable housing.
Just that, don't be too proud. Take, not advantage, but use the systems that are in place, the programs that are in place. It's hard. I've been there, but they definitely can help you get to a better place. So I think that's kind of my advice, is to learn about the opportunities that we have in our community. And sometimes admitting that you need help is not a bad thing. It gets better. It will get better. It can get better if you reach out for help.
We all need help.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good advice all the way around. You know, start where you are, be as truthful as you can, and doors can start to open and things can start to change. So here's a question. If an employer contributes more to an employee's health insurance cost instead of a pay raise, is this considered income increase that would reduce SNAP benefits or child care assistance?
Kind of. Eligibility. I don't know if you deal with
Yeah,
eligibility.
I mean, that's not part of your gross income.
Right.
So they're not looking at employer contribution to health benefits. So I would say as long as it's not part of their gross income, I mean.
Like employers can contribute to health savings. Well, it's called a CURSA. That's kind of what I do at Family Health. It's an alternative to health insurance, and that doesn't go against benefits. I've had employees that if I take this $500 a month on this card to help with healthcare, will that impact my benefits? And it does not. No, in that instance.
I'm not qualified to really answer that.
Yeah, in that instance.
Okay.
It
So
does entirely depend on the types on how the employer,
Gives
because
the
there are
money.
certain
Yeah.
assistance. I only know because we're in this
Yeah.
United Way, but it does count as our gross income. So it just depends on how
it's given. Mhm. Yeah.
So there might be things that employers can do
Right.
to contribute directly to health
Yes.
care, which won't count against their gross income, which would allow those employees to maintain benefits. That's how I would
Yes.
summarize that, right?
Good
Okay.
summary, Deb.
All right. Next question. Is anyone able to address the need for housing for Alice so they fill low-income jobs as a part of the solid economic development? A society that is growing with middle income needs stable restaurant employees, right? So, housing.
Yeah, not just, these high-paying jobs. We need people to run all positions, these restaurants that are happening. We're going to see shopping centers pop up. We are going to need more home health aid care workers. We are going to need everybody in all facets. As I was mentioning, we have a problem in the country right now with people and builders really just looking at their budgets. It is not affordable for them or in their best interest financially to build affordable housing. So until we as a whole, as a government, as a community government can step in and provide grants, maybe provide tax abatements, these are things that are going to help and incentivize builders to come in and build this product. As I said, zoning and building code regulations as well will need to change. There are going to be smaller dwellings, and that's okay. My husband lived in a 163 square foot tiny house. Smaller dwellings are okay, and so we need to look at these options. We need to look at density and zoning. There's a lot of components, but number one, cost of everything is going up, and if there's no incentives for anybody to build these products, they will not build. If you build it, they will come. But as of right now, we're not building the product.
So Jenny, holding that mic. And I think you may have answered one of these, but what are the median housing prices of Licking County and in Newark?
So yeah, Licking County is 300, hold on a second, let me just not stutter on this, $345,000 for all of Licking County. 345,000. I moved to Licking County myself almost 4 years ago. The affordable, so I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee for the Columbus Board of Realtors. Our base price and below for affordable housing is $215,000. Okay, I moved to Licking County myself. My house that I bought was $220,000. I'm in the affordable housing market, right? So Licking County, $345,000. And then for the city of Newark, we are looking at $239,000 is the average sales price for a home in
Is
Newark.
that the median or the mean?
That's the average. So we're gonna see just a little bit below that for the median.
Why?
Why what?
All of it.
Oh, yeah, why? Again, we'll go back to 2020, where when interest rates went so low, we brought so many buyers to the market. And it was buying power. Everybody had buying power, so their mortgage prices were lower. And that gave them, number one, lower down payments, okay? So then people started competing. The baby boomers who left their houses got a lot more money than what they paid for their houses. And what happened across the nation, it was something called appraisal gap coverage. This has skewed our market across the board. So what that meant was there might be a house for $200,000 in Newark, but somebody comes and they're gonna bid $250,000 on that house.
Right.
It only appraised for $210,000, but they're gonna cover that $40,000 difference. So that value for your neighborhood is $250,000, when actually through a mortgage, it was only valued at $210,000. But people skewed the market by bringing that appraisal gap coverage. And this happened all across the board. This is why home prices went so high. And again, the boomers, they left their 4-bedroom, 2-bath house that they paid maybe $125,000 and got it, $400,000 for it. And then they're going back out there with their cash and buying product and saying, we'll spend whatever, we'll outbid anybody. Appraisal gap coverages skewed our market across the board, and that's what drove up prices so significantly. So we saw interest rates rise and the home market did settle a little bit, but now we have this average price across the board and it's not going down. If I go to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, nobody wants lower than what their house is averaged at right now. Everybody's looking for the most amount of money for their house. The competition is still real and our inventory is still low. And until we get that large scale infrastructure coming to our community, I think about the Christmas vacation, Clark, what is full, Franklin County in general, their sewage treatment plant is at capacity. Their water treatment plant is at capacity. Their electrical grids are at capacity, and that's why they're not building. As I said, Plain City, we saw a boom. Keith, we're seeing a boom because we have this capacity. And until that capacity, and we put money, which a water treatment plant is over $50 million. Who's gonna pay for that water treatment plant? So unless the state and local governments start fighting for this infrastructure money, it's gonna come back onto the taxpayers too. So there's a big component of why we are in the situation that we are. And then rolling that back to 2008, where we stopped building as a country. That was why.
Sorry, another housing question here.
It's a big topic.
We appreciate the need for vertical housing. We've talked about that a little bit, but in many places, there's a lot of stigma and community resistance. Do you or anybody have any suggestions on how we address and change this stereotype about that sort of vertical housing here?
It's gonna be very hard to change it. NIMBY is not in my backyard. There are so many people who want it, but not in my backyard. I think there's going to be a shift with the age demographic. So we are seeing a younger age demographic who's just fine with density in their community. They want They don't want to drive in their car anymore. You know, ODOT did a study in Licking County, and for the first time they've done this study in 30 years, the answer was not, I'm not worried about congestion or my traffic commute. I want a walkable, livable community. You know, you look at a football stadium and you look at the football stadium itself, and then surrounding that football stadium is 4 other football stadiums of a parking lot. You know, we have a problem here in America with, we're gonna drive everywhere, you know? And I do think there's going to be a shift within the younger age demographics coming up where they're okay with it. You know, they don't need the acre out in the country. Genoa Township, for example, you know, it's a 2-acre minimum. That is not sustainable. And in that 2-acre minimum, you're gonna have a well and a septic tank, which are not good functioning systems. They're always going to break. So I think it's just really look at the situations we're in. Do you want to see us continuing down this line or do you not? It's one or the other. And again, more people are going to bring more businesses. They're going to bring more enjoyable things. I would love to see maybe, you know, people doing yoga down on the courthouse square. You know, I love what we're doing on, you know, Friday nights with the farmers markets and having more things happening down there. This is what a community thrives on. We need this, you know, we all saw, you know, I'm from the Rust Belt, I'm from the Warren Youngstown area. You know, in my time, steel mills did not exist. And I saw my population of my people just falling, and I'm still seeing them falling because there's nothing up there. We have to look at our community and say, do we want to change or not? That's just all there is to it. You can keep living in the way you're living and you're going to keep complaining, or we can look at this differently and say, we're going to make a difference. We're going to make a difference. Deb, you said this, and I stuck in my head forever. Do you want to be the ancestors that are remembered for doing something different, or do you want to be the ancestors who kept it the same way? It's very simple.
Well, lots and lots of good information for us around Alice. We could spend all week talking about Alice because there are multiple components when we address Alice. What we can all agree on is Alice is 37% of our population and 37% of the population that we need so that all of us who are interconnected, all of us living together in one community can thrive. Are there things that we can change to help this demographic? Yes, there are things we can do. All of us can do something. We need to get a variety of people together on a regular basis, getting people out of their silos, healthcare, talking to housing, talking to workforce, talking to education, silos coming together around the table in an ongoing, consistent way, saying, let's commit ourselves to working for a better future. So the book, sorry, thank you for reminding me of that book. Ari Wallach, if you've not read the book, Becoming the Ancestors Our Future Generations Need Us to Be. Meaning, how do all of us get out of thinking about ourselves, our own life? He says our lifetime bias. And how do we start living, thinking, breathing in a way that today will make a difference for 7 generations down the road? And that's the way we all need to start living. So thank you for coming to our CPC forum. If you have suggestions for future topics, you can write them down on the piece of paper there or contact us at United Way. I would be remiss to say, let me say a few things here. United Way, every year we raise funds and we're in the thick of our campaign season. Any contribution that you are able to provide helps, again, us to strengthen the not-for-profit ecosystem right here in Licking County, the not-for-profits that many of our Alice demographic relies on every single day. $5 goes a long way. Secondly, I want to thank Melissa for allowing us to host our CPC forums right here at the Licking County Aging Program here. They do a fantastic job, and I would also be remiss to say another way that you can support Alice is supporting your seniors. Get out there and support the policies, the dollars that our senior programs need. I have guardianship over an 88 and an 86-year-old. One had a massive stroke in the morning. Her husband had a massive heart attack on the same day. I had to drive each of them to 2 separate rehab facilities. One now is in permanent assisted living with palliative care. One now I moved in with my dad. I went over to the pharmacy, $329 for one prescription. And I'm looking at her checkbook, which she hasn't kept up for a while. I'm thinking, okay, what are we gonna do here? Folks, our seniors were our ancestors. We are here today because of our ancestors. We owe it to them to take care of them now. So everybody do what you can to support our seniors in the upcoming months as well. And with that, I'm gonna end. Thank you all so much for coming.